And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
Algorithm in check.
And I have both just like constantly flooding into my regular page. And I will admit, I mean, this is not going to surprise a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I stay signed into all three at all times. So like my notifications are constantly going off.
Oh, it's always going off. That's why I can't be in group chats with people, because I'm just like, if Instagram doesn't kill my phone, you will. But like my Instagram page is like a lot of like fucking Legos and like comic book art, because those are like other areas of my, other fandoms that I'm like very interested in, or just like they're pretty pictures for me to look at.
There you go. We love pretty pictures.
Who doesn't love pretty pictures? I'll tell you what I love: pretty animation. And we've been getting some pretty animation from Star Wars: The Bad Batch.
We have. It's been aesthetically pleasing. For sure.
Very. And you know where we can talk about that? On our Star Wars podcast. And Are You Okay?
Ooh, a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, we just sandwiched that one. Thanks for tuning in. Come right in. Sit right down. Mikey's gonna show you the moon. That's no moon. It's a Death Star. No. Blowing up your
Lunar
favorite planet.
It's a crescent.
It's a crescent roll. I am your host, Mikey, the human holocron. Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Darth Plagueis the Wise himself.
With my guy, my brother in arms, the Rogue One, the Rogue Only. Matthew Porter, tell me, are you checked in?
Hey, I am checked in. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Smack Talker Skywalker, your main from the Gray Hoodie Gang. I am checked in, good sir. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm fantastic, because we have a very good episode. I mean, I think it's just they're hitting heavy hitters every single time they're coming up to bat. It's like, it's dingers all day. It's dingers all day.
Dingers on, like, Dinger hey. Tuesday, baby.
So, you're listening to And Are You Okay, which is your not safe for work take on the galaxy far away that you know and love. Welcome in. We are going to drop the spoiler warning here because we're going to get in our bag, and we're definitely going to talk about characters who've died. So if you haven't watched The Bad Batch, go watch The Bad Batch. And if you haven't watched other Star Wars animated shows, I'm begging you, just do it. It's the best Star Wars we got right now. I wholeheartedly believe that at this point. And then this is just an open call. We're waiting on them. We're dying to be asked. Hashtag
anything.
Anything. Thank you, Matt. So please send them in. Maybe I'll start badgering people for them, because I just want to talk about random shit at the end of the episodes, because that's what I like to do.
Love that.
And who better with than
all
Matt?
About the random shit.
It's Rogue One.
Look, Captain Tangent.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all for random
sounds
shit.
Like a Star Wars character. Captain Tangent. We're going to call Steve that from now on.
There you go.
All right.
Well, he'd be Lieutenant Tangent. I'm Captain. I am the captain now.
You guys are brothers.
There you go.
All right. Well, let's hyper dive right into things, and with the recap of this week's episode. Discussion topics around the episode. So I'm gonna do it. Are you ready, Matt?
Let's get it.
Omega, Batcher, and Crosshair crash land on the Imperial-controlled planet of Lao. After escaping Mount Tantus, the trio find disguises and make their way into town to try and find a new transport off-world. Attempting to make their way off the planet without harming others and drawing attention to themselves, the group finds out how much credits it would take to get on the transport without chain codes. Omega uses her skills as a strategic gamer to build up their funds so that they can do things her way. An Imperial officer takes note of her winnings and challenges her to a match. Losing fair and square, he pays Omega, but forces her to pay the fine for gambling before stealing Batcher on his way out. Omega and Crosshair argue over leaving Batcher behind, and Crosshair reluctantly gives in to Omega's wishes. When they locate Batcher in an animal transport compound, the Imperial officer who runs the town confronts them in an attempt to capture them for Dr. Hemlock. Omega now caves to Crosshair and allows him to do what he does best as the two blast their way to freedom, releasing all the creatures and escaping on the transport. Omega sends an encrypted message to Hunter and Wrecker with coordinates for a rendezvous. Upon arrival, a heartfelt reunion ensues between Omega, Wrecker, and Hunter, just before her brothers are confronted with the image of their long-lost, conflicted brother, Crosshair, on the ramp of the stolen shuttle. Ba-bam.
What an episode. I enjoyed every second of it from top to bottom. I would just like to say that I'm not saying that I accurately predicted how this is about to end, but it's starting to feel like I accurately predicted how this is about to end, because there were so many we can't leave them behind moments in this episode that kind of speaks to my prediction of that they're going to go back to save the other clones, and that's what the big overarching mission is going to be. And then we got the odd couple pairing adventure of Omega and Crosshair. Called for that episode too. Got it a lot earlier than what we thought I did. But I will say, Mike, and I kind of want to know what your take is. A lot of what we thought was going to happen is in fact happening, but it's happening way earlier in the season than what I thought either one of us would have thought. We kind of would have thought that, like maybe the reunion might have not happened until like mid-season. Maybe, like them all coming together as a group would have been like the midpoint, and then, they got to like work out the kinks of the chemistry and then move on. But I kind of want to get your take. For me, it's seeming like they wanted to hurry up and get the group back together so they can then have like their, all right, we're running a reluctant mission together to get our chemistry back on. There's going to be a moment where like the trust of Crosshair will be gained back, and then he's back in, and then it's the liberation for the clone storyline, which will probably take up like the bulk of it. Where do you feel that they're and we still got the shit with the Size Ventress and Fennec Shand. Like there's still so much stuff that we've seen in the trailers that hasn't come up. But with them reuniting the batch so early, why do you think that was done that way? Like, what do you think's at play that they wanted to like get everybody back together so soon, just 4 episodes in?
So first off, I think everything you said is very on point, and you did predict quite a lot of these things that would happen. It was great to see them play out, and honestly, I kind of like that it happened so fast. That reunion of the batch and Crosshair gaining the trust of his brothers back, I think is going to happen really quick, especially since he helped Omega, and I also think it's going to happen in the next episode, which is titled The Reunion. So I think that we're definitely going to see just kind of what you said, like that play out. The clone, it's not a clone. I don't think it's going to be a clone rebellion. It's just going to be them like breaking clone liberation, right? Is what we're ultimately leading to, and I think that's going to be the end.
If that's not what I said, that's what I meant. Liberation was the word I meant to use. If that's not what I said,
sure. But like, I think that's what we're going to lead to at the end. However, there's quite a few characters, like you said, that have been teased. All of them which are bounty hunters, and I think that Hemlock hunting for Omega is going to be a big portion of, no matter what is happening or what the Bad Batch is doing, they're going to constantly be having to deal with the fact that they're being hunted. And I don't know if that means Asajj is like after Omega specifically. Like, I highly doubt that she's willing to work for the Empire knowing that Sidious is pulling the strings. So maybe there's something where she gets involved and other bounty hunters are with her and she realizes that, I can't do this. I think that ultimately whatever role she has to play is going to be one that ends up benefiting the Bad Batch. How Fennec Shand and Cad Bane play into things is another story. I also think after sitting with the few episodes that we've seen so far, I think it was left out of the trailer for a reason. but Cad Bane, Fennec Shand, other bounty hunters. We really think Boba Fett is not going to show up. Daniel Logan was voicing the other clones. You know what I mean? Like, I just really feel like that's coming.
I'm like, I like it. Especially if we are leading to what it does seem like full steam ahead to a clone liberation. I won't call it an arc because this is all one final season, but like I'd be hard pressed to imagine that Boba Fett wouldn't want to get in on that. They're also his brothers, and Omega is technically
piece of me
like his
that could
direct
go
sister.
either way, right? Like I could see Omega tugging at Boba's heartstrings and him being like, "It's the honorable thing to do. I'll help the clones." And I could also see him being like, "They're not really my brothers. That's not my problem. Like they weren't raised by Jango. Like they're not my dad.
Right?
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I could definitely see it going either direction. Boba's a complex character. Obviously, we know that because of the Clone Wars arcs he's gone through, and then the Book of Boba Fett. If anything, he's an honorable man. So we'll see how that plays into things. But he's definitely
just
going
a
through
man
his,
trying to make his way through the galaxy like his father.
That is a fact, my friend. But I think that he could be going through some of his teen angst years right now and be like, "This not my problem." You know, not my.
Oh yeah, he
not
would
my
be
Kawaki
younger.
and Monkey Lizard, not my Galactic Circus. But
yeah. I want to redact my statement because I totally forgot he'd still be like a teen now. Totally, I was thinking of Book of Boba Fett, Boba, like liberated, and then the sense of family and togetherness and village. I was thinking of that, Boba. Like, this is the not too far removed from watching my dad get his head lopped off, like Boba. But I am So all right. So next to him helping the clone, liberation front mission, but I could see him popping back up. For sure.
I could see him
That'd be cool.
Successfully capturing Omega, but then finding out that she's his sister.
Oh yeah, and letting her
just
go.
letting her go.
Ooh, I'd like that. I like that. You know what's funny? Speaking about the bounty hunters, I like that you brought that up. I thought that when Hemlock was like, again paraphrasing because I'm terrible at direct quotes. When Hemlock was basically on some like call all of our assets, call everyone. We need to find her. I thought we were going to get a couple, maybe an episode or two more of Crosshairs and Omega being on the lam. And I thought that like maybe Hunter and Wrecker might be like, like at a bar or something. And they hear like bounty hunters talking about this bounty, like, oh, the Empire is looking for this girl. And then they was like, oh, girl. And then they follow the bounty hunters to get to them. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I'm not mad. Like you just said, I'm totally on board with them reuniting the gang right now. I do my prediction a bit early for next week's episode. Like you just said, I think that the chemistry circumstance is going to happen in the next episode. Seeing how as they stole an Imperial cargo carrier that can be tracked, I feel like they are going to get tracked, and then like the Imperial forces that are going to like come to attack is going to force Hunter to be like, all right, give Crosshair a gun. Like, come on.
Get on the Marauder.
Like,
let's get out of here.
Yeah, like we can't, or let's like, like stand their ground and try to like defend themselves. And they're like, all right, well, shit, we're stuck to like, friends become enemies and it becomes friends. Bro, I feel like it's going to be a moment like that where it's just like, I could see a conversation. I hope the episode starts right where it stopped. And with this one, where them just still the face to face, or if not, directly right there, I could see it being a circumstance where it's like Hunter, Wrecker, Omega, like kind of having like a powwow, and Crosshairs like away, and they're just like, oh, but he helped me escape. He's reformed, and they're like, but we can't trust him. Like you weren't there on the satellite type time. And then them sitting there trying to figure out if they should rock with him or not. I could see that's when they they get attacked, and it's just like, you want my help or not, bro?
Yeah, and
then,
well,
maybe.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, and then maybe there could be like a point where like a trooper sneaking up on Hunter, he don't see him, and his Crosshairs, boom, gets him, and he's just like gives him a little nod and a wink,
Yeah. So the end of season 2, they were going to get Crosshair out. Like that was the point of the mission. I think the bad blood that exists there is that like they lost Tech, who never turned on them, and they might hold some resentment to Crosshair for that loss. and that's why the tension is so high. But I feel like because he helped Omega, they're gonna be quick to forgive.
Very true.
And he doesn't side with the Empire anymore. So, like, he made a mistake, and he's gonna have to atone for that. And he's on the right track by helping Omega escape. Let's put it that way. I don't think there's many other things he could have done that would have got him in the good graces of his brothers so quickly.
So yeah, I wanna just combat you just a bit. So
sure.
My read on season 2 with them going to get Crosshair, I took it, or at least for Hunter's part of it, because a case could be made that Hunter feels the most betrayed because they actually had the one-on-one fight, like on Camino. I believe it was on Camino. When Crosshair got stuck on so like they had that, like with the other guys, they just had like the betrayal and then him like hunting them down and stuff. But like him and Hunter like actually fought, like physically fought, like which could have been presumably to the death, but Hunter won and like got away in this and the third. So like there's rawness there. I read the Omega championing really hard for them to go save him, more so as like all right, I'm gonna do this solely because you're my brother and I'm not about to leave you to that fate because I'm a better man than you, but like I don't fuck with you though. Like you're not my guy. Like I'm not gonna leave you to be tortured. Like we gonna rescue you and then like, all right, you're free. Go on, little doggy. Like I wasn't really. I didn't think that Hunter was or is there yet to like receive him back. Even though they lost their brother, I just don't think that he's there yet. I feel like something's gonna happen more than a conversation to where he's just like, all right, I can trust you now. Or I feel like I can trust you now.
It's so weird. There's like the dynamic between them is a complicated one, but it almost makes it feel like so much more real. I think we've all had that like friend we've gotten to like a really bad fight with, and like there's a piece of you that remembers all like the fond memories, and then there's the other part of you that like absolutely hates them, right? And so this isn't the first time they've crossed paths either, or the first time that Crosshair's helped them. Like Crosshair helped them escape Camino, and they pretty much offered to let him leave with them, and he said no. Like, so I think that there's going to be some sort of dynamic, and maybe you're right. Maybe there's going to be a lot more that he needs to do to earn their trust over time. But there's something to be said about like sometimes it's easy to forgive and fall back into your like old ways easier than people think. Breaking down that barrier of your resentment and hatred can sometimes like allow for things to come back to normal, or what you perceived as normal, a lot faster. And I think we'll just see how that plays out. So I don't think you're wrong. I think we just have to see, right? Like your guess is as good as mine, especially at this point.
Big facts. Big facts.
It's just interesting. I really hope that I don't know. These guys have been through so much that there's really a piece of me that's like, I hope that they find their peace. I just really don't think it's going to be there for all of them. Like I genuinely feel like there's a dark ending ahead of us. There's something I want to ask you about.
I'm fairly certain Crosshair is going to bite the bucket. I was going to say I'm fairly certain that Crosshair is not making it out of this show.
I think that's fair.
Like for me, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah. So breaking all the other clones out, I like that storyline. I like that storyline for the Bad Batch. But to me, it doesn't quite line up with another piece of Star Wars canon that we know to be true. And it is what happens to Rex, Wolf, and Gregor, that if they were the ones responsible for breaking all of those clones out and it was known to the Empire, there's no way that the Empire would let them exist just out there and not like arrest them off the jump. And they seem to have like a quote unquote cordial or like civil relationship with the Empire. Like they don't like them obviously, but they have like communicated to them, and the Empire doesn't like actively hunt them. So it almost makes me feel like Rex, Gregor, and Wolf like aren't involved in that conflict, but I have a hard time envisioning them based off of everything we've seen from Rex in the previous 2 seasons of the Bad Batch, that he wouldn't be more involved with like the liberation of his brothers. So it just feels weird to me. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I also think that like if Rex doesn't go, I think Echo's definitely going to go, and he's another clone
Echo's
that I
definitely
feel. Yeah, he's another clone I'm not comfortable with saying. I think that he's also going to. He's not going to make it. Like there's just a piece of me that feels really bad about his role to play in particular in the episodes yet to come.
No, I feel that, and that is a really good point about like Rex, Wolf, and Gregor. But I feel like there is a very, and I don't know what it could be, but I feel like there is an easy way to have them not be involved in that. Like this, it could just be the Batch like doing it, like like we got this like type time, like just like and I think when we on that giant armadillo, I feel like there was like a scene in the trailer where Fennec was on that thing too. I could be wrong, could be a different vehicle, but I thought she was. But that could be just like a real simple thing that, like you said, like Echo's just like, yo, like I wasn't gonna miss this. Like I like where I'm gonna help you guys out, and like like strange bedfellows type time. Or it even could be a situation where for as Rex is, I've always seen or have seen and or always felt that like Rex's first loyalty lied to like his direct squad. Like I've never really felt like Rex was like Captain Clone. Like he wasn't like, like, oh yeah, everybody's like, we're all one band, one sound. Like there are other clones that I feel like have barked like kind of like, oh no, like, they look at it as like the clones are brothers. Like Rex, like the Rex and the Codys of the world for me have always felt more militant. Like, oh yeah, like my guys are my guys, my troops are my troops. Like, the people who like got the same bands and colors as me, like, yeah, like, we're the people that I'm in the foxhole with. Like, yeah. And I know like he's been helping and like trying to like, help out and whatnot for her, but it's just like Rex, it wouldn't seem weird to me Rex not being on that mission. Like that wouldn't feel like Rex would definitely be there. Like what you saying with Echo not being there would feel weird. Like the brothers are back together, they're on a mission. Echo not being a part of that would feel strange. But and it's like Rex not being there
to be doing more. He like how many times does he like we could be doing more, Hunter? Like and that's why I think it's because Rex is the one who's spearheading that. So that's my only conflict with your theory there, is that it feels like Rex is doing a lot for clone rights based off of how his arc was in season 2.
So let me clarify so I could see why what I just said. Yeah, like I could see why what I just said could be more bit confusing. So when I say like Rex seems to be more like I'm with my squad, I could see him keeping on his mission of helping all the clones that are like out there scattered who need help, versus like, all right, you guys got this handled, right? There are other, kind of like with Captain Marvel when Rhodey was just like, oh, where you been at? She was like, there's a lot of galaxies out there and they didn't all have you.
That is a much better explanation, I think, than like,
that's what I meant to say. Like I could see right, I could see Rex still keeping it on like, all right, I need to find all the disenfranchised clones that are out there who don't have anybody to speak up for them. These clones are trapped. You guys seem like you got this. All right, cool. Here's Echo. Now you have pulled the bands back together. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I need to handle this type time. So yeah, not like just fuck the other clones.
If that happens, I would really like to see like if there's a switch that happens where like the Empire just determines it's like all clones are, persona non grata, like, or there's been like a clone uprising, essentially the Order 66 for the clones, right? Where they're like fully gotten rid of, and Rex is like, I have to take care of what's going on out here. And the Batch is like, we need to go to Tantus, and that's what pulls him away from the fight, then I could see that being good, but there better be a good ass speech around why he's not going. Yeah, I guess like that's kind of how I feel about it.
Let me ask you this crazy out there question: would you be accepting of, let's say that this final season is leading to a clone liberation on Tantus, and matter of fact, let me pair what you just said with what I'm about to say. So let's say like there does come an edict down from the Empire. They're like, oh, we're done with these clones. They're discarded trash. Let's get rid of them. Persona non grata. We switching to stormtroopers, training kids from infancy. We don't need these clones no more. So let's say that does come out. Would you be okay with the explanation as to why all these players weren't present for anything coming up that we would have thought they'd be around for, because they're like big players now? If they free all the clones from Tantus and they all know, like, you know, this isn't going to be a fun life, we're on the run now, would you be okay with, like, if they found a planet far away from this and they just like stay there, it doesn't have to be an uninhabited planet, but it could be like an off the radar, and it's just like all the clones are just like for the living clones together. Yeah, exactly. And they stay there, and that's why they don't get involved with the First Order or the Skywalker saga and everything, because they're like, yo, like we got our names on the wanted posters. Like, we got to stay out of this, bro. Like,
what if they go to
time?
I'm just kidding.
Shit, fuck it. Like, go, welcome home. Like,
yeah, right.
Welcome, but would that be a suitable write-off for you as to why the batch or for Omega particularly, her being who she is, you know, in relation to Boba Fett and just, you know, that whole lineage? Because you, Sieves, on mic, off mic, we've all talked about, like, we're getting to the place where we filled in all the blanks, and we as fans deserve explanations as to why certain characters that they've put so much stock into, that they're making us love. Where were you at? Like, when we were fighting the Empire?
I can definitely fuck with the idea of them retiring, because I think a big theme of the show has been, we were soldiers, now what do we do? And even in the second episode, Hunter makes a point to the cadets. He's like, you have time to figure out how you want to live the rest of your life, but our mission isn't over. Okay, well, when their mission is over, there's more to their life than being soldiers. And they were finding that on Pabu before shit got fucked up. So, yeah, I think these clones need to find the life for themselves. And I think that that's a good story in and of itself. You know, obviously a lot of them have the accelerated aging, so they're not all going to be like fighting ready. I mean, we saw Rex struggling through his time in Rebels, so that in and of itself takes them out of the fight. But outside that point, like, it would be happy.
And
it would be nice to get
long.
some happier endings for the clones, and it wouldn't bother me as much. So, yeah, I think that there's some things that need to happen and line up for me to feel comfortable with it. But I do feel like the show has been building to the point. So totally, like, a great question to ask. But yeah, I think we're going to have some of these like contradictions from time to time. But I think that it's also a big galaxy out there, and we have to take into account that there's like the galactic stakes, but there's also the personal stakes. And sometimes the personal stories of characters are going to take precedence over their involvement in the galactic story that, like, the Skywalker saga is a part of. And
it's funny because, like, a part of the problem, Star Wars, ironically, and I'm sure it was totally accidental, like, created themselves, because it's like, it's logical, it's simple, it fills in all the holes just to say that it's a big galaxy. It's real easy for someone to disappear. It's very simple for that. But because Star Wars has like made like such a funny history about, like, if someone goes hiding on a planet, they get found the next day. It makes it feel, it makes the galaxy feel small. It's like a planet's
the size of a city and not the size of a planet.
Right. So it's just like, logically, it's easy to be like, all right, yes, they found a planet in this endless galaxy. So yes, the Empire isn't about to search every single
logically, you don't believe in your side.
There's so many conflicting principles. But yeah, so it's just like, I'm interested to see how they'll play to that, because like I said, like, the easy answer is the simple answer, but because you've showed us that, like, hiding on a planet means dog shit, like it does make it, like, it does remove it's weird because it's like it puts logic into science fiction, but like the science fiction is in space, so it should follow space logic. So it's like fiction inside of fiction. It's like a nasty revolving door that you would think that it'd be easy for someone to hide in space, but you've showed us that it's not easy to hide in space. So it's like now you got to create really enriching examples as to why these people have disappeared for 30 years. Like, where did they go? Because it's like, just kind of, if again, big ifs, all speculation, but if they are teasing clone liberation, I don't see the last season of a show them failing at that. So like, you have to place these 100,000 something clones somewhere. And then it's like, well, why didn't they help? Like type time.
Yeah.
Especially
well, they
like,
also,
if the Empire was trying to neuter them all.
I was going to say the degradation of Crosshair alone, like the other prisoners are going to be there for the rest of the season. They could just be, I don't want to call them useless, but they could be like through some trauma that makes them not a factor. They're just looking to be saved as opposed to becoming warriors again. And so I think that's a part of it. And
not only that,
well, I'm excited to see how they can cleverly write themselves out of, having like an army out there that's no longer an army.
And you kind of put up a point which they could do. You bringing up the accelerated aging, they all could essentially just die off in a couple years. Like, so it's just like the batch might just, help them find like, a hospice planet, for lack of a better term. Like,
essentially,
hey,
like a retirement planet.
Live out your remaining however many years here.
Welcome to Rita Flow.
Like exactly. So that could be the easy explanation out of it, since like they all are aging fast anyway, that, some of them might not be long for this world, especially like you just said, the ones that they're going to save are all people that have been experimented on. So maybe even that like shortened their life expectancy, because like you said, Crosshair, they got him out and he's got the shakes and stuff.
It's a good thing Lucasfilm has us to explain this shit for the regular fan base.
big facts, big facts. And then Omega even saying like, oh, like it's getting worse. So I was just like, all right, so they did something to him that's like a chronic thing, or like it's a continuing condition. It's not like, oh, I was tortured and I'll get out of it. Like she's saying like he's getting worse. And we saw
like his trauma
in,
could be the reason why it's getting worse. But like sometimes trauma can be healed, right? Like I don't think people will ever fully recover from PTSD. So
facts.
That's part of it that I think that Crosshair's going to have to continue to deal with. I got a couple like call outs from the episode that I, not Easter eggs, just things that I'm like, I really liked that. Can we just talk about how troopers with ponchos are like ridiculously underrated designs? I don't know what it is. I just thought it looked. I'm just a big fan of like the trooper that had the goggles over his helmet. I was like, I really fuck with this design. It doesn't make any sense, but I fuck with the design.
Yeah, I will say, interestingly enough, one of the things that I've liked a lot with like the pre-Skywalker era or the in between stuff is like we grew up in the era where it was just a blanket statement of stormtroopers, one uniform, one look, one style. Like that's all we got. So it's really cool. Even with the prequel trilogies, there wasn't. The visors changed a bit, they looked a little bit more sleek and streamlined, for the Clone Wars to make them look cool, selling merch and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, they looked exactly the same. But then like when Clone Wars came in and, we started getting like different stripes, different colors. Ahsoka got her battalion. They started doing the paint to match hers and stuff like that. We started getting originality. But I've been enjoying with like the Super Troopers and the Death Troopers and the this trooper and the Poncho Trooper.
The transitional
like, I've
phase troopers.
Yeah, like I've really enjoyed like all the different looks that they've made the Stormtroopers just to like break up the standard white and black uniform. It's just like, oh, these are dope. Like I enjoy this. I enjoyed myself.
I hadn't thought that far ahead, but of course, put a poncho on a Stormtrooper.
Yeah, man. Look, Cameron, Cal Custis. He's
Cameron Monaghan.
Cal Custis approved.
Gotta be.
Yeah,
Gotta
he's
be.
like, there
Man
you
loves
go.
ponchos.
That's where my poncho.
Yeah,
was. Still waiting for you, Cameron. Still waiting for you to show up in live action. Still waiting.
Maybe someday. Hopefully.
Give the people what they want.
I would love for him to have like a cameo in this show. To be honest, like you don't have to. It doesn't even have to be a big role.
Dope.
It could be him just fucking around in the background. But if they have to go back to
just walking
Morocco
past
for some reason, yeah.
I'm here.
They did that with Ponda Baba and fucking Dr. Evazan in Rogue One. Just do the same thing in fucking. I wouldn't be mad.
There you go.
Another thing
Cal's
from
a heavy hitter. We need explanations.
I was a big fan of the design of the droid bartender. This is a new one. I was like, I really fucked with it. I don't know.
In the when Omega and Crosshair was in the card game. Yeah, I like that too. It did. I know it was a different design, but it kind of reminded me of the droid bartender from Jedi Survivor, the one that when you're with Grease's bar, when you're like helping them fix it up and stuff and getting patrons to go in there. I know it was like different, but it just like reminded me of that.
For sure. Yeah, similar vibes, and I've definitely appreciated that. I have a few Easter eggs that I can go through, but was there anything else you wanted to talk about for the episode?
I'm trying to think of what other parts I really enjoyed. The card game was really dope. I like that. I enjoyed that.
That was like a game meets tarot cards. Like I couldn't quite explain it, but they looked really cool. Yeah.
I will say another example of something that we talked about in our last review. I'm really liking how they're not doing the standard enemies become friends, friends become enemies. Like the example that I want to use obviously I'm talking about for Omega and Crosshair. Like I really like how they've just not necessarily they're on the same page, and it's not taken like they obviously have like their banter. He's Crosshair, she's Omega, he's stoic, she's a kid. So it's like, yeah, there's obviously like, oil and water, but in terms of him betraying the batch and them having that issue, that's not coming up, and I like that. Like, because when Omega was going back for Batcher and Crosshair was just like, yo, basically, I'm not risking my life for a dog. Like, what are we doing? And Omega was just like, leave. I feel like the old school trope would have clearly been Omega goes on a big chunk of this rescue mission by herself, and then when she gets in trouble, Crosshair shows up. And it's just like, and it's that heroic moment. But it's just like, nah, he was just like just a couple minutes behind her. Like it seems like as soon as she was out of his sight, he was like, oh fuck, all right, come on. So I was like, I really like that, and it reminded me of like when she was breaking him out. Like I was saying to you last week, like it would have been real easy for him to be like, just leave me here, and she had to convince him. But he was just like, oh, you found a weak point? All right, we out. Like let's go. Like so. Yeah. I'm really liking how they're handling their dynamic, that they're two people who had a relationship, were separated by a family tiff, but they're both in a bad situation, and they know that it's more important for them to be on the same. Like if we're gonna get out of this, there's no point in us harping over what had happened before. And I feel like, I like that is kind of like the motif as opposed to the standard, like reluctant tag team partner storylines that typically go down.
I really like your point. And I also just like shout out to you for calling out my thoughts that I had before. Like I even like realized, because I definitely thought that like you literally were like, oh yeah, she would have done that like the whole thing by herself. That's when I was watching it, I was like, this is how it's going to play out. And you're right. It was a super quick transition, and it's subverting our expectations in small ways that are enriching the story, telling something, a different take on things, kind of like delving deeper into the Omega Crosshair relationship in a way that makes sense for both of their characters, but also I think is going to be more valuable for us in the long run. Because we don't need to rehash their beef. That happened in season 1. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's different now, and they've also been through something traumatic together, and exactly, instead of dwelling on the trauma, it's like, how do we get out of it? Which is, to me, is a very proactive way of storytelling, where it's like these guys, they've been down on their luck, but they're not letting it defeat them. So and I think there's something to be said about that as well.
Yeah, and then just one final point to that of what you just said. It does give you I feel like you'll agree with me on this point. Let me make a point and then I'll use the example.
Sure.
I enjoy when fantasy shows, whether it be anime, Star Wars, science fiction, Avatar, whatever it may be. I like when obviously it's set in a fantastical world and people are making decisions based off their experience in this world. But I do like when a touch of reality or like real life thinking enters a TV show. Like when you're able to be like, oh, that makes sense because that's how a person would react. It makes sense for Omega not to hold as much ill will towards Crosshair because like she has the least amount of time put in with him out of the batch. Like she met them late and then he left really early to her joining the batch. So it's like they didn't really have that close connection pre the betrayal. So she got to know him a lot during her time on Tantus, like, her having the vigils while he's in his cell or then passing each other in the hallway. So it's just like their time, like you just said, came from going through a traumatic experience together. It's not we were so close and then you betrayed me. Now we got to build this trust back up. It's like, yeah, I knew you did some fuck shit, but like now we're here. You seem like an okay guy. I would imagine, obviously it was a time skip, but it's like, not even imagine. I'm pretty sure that's kind of like normal in your face. She has effectively spent more time with him on Tantus than she did when they originally met, like tenfold. 100%. Like, because he was out of the group shortly after, they got with her. Like, so it's just like her, like you said, her not having to rehash it makes sense because there's nothing for her to rehash. She didn't know Crosshair. Like this is it's a familiar face, and yeah, it's just like, oh shit, you're cool with my mans in a room full of strangers. You're a friend of a friend, so of course I'm gonna gravitate towards you. It's not so much like, oh my god, Crosshair, I've missed you. It's, oh shit, you used to be with my guys. I know that y'all are having a weird thing, but at least like the devil I know versus the devil I don't know type situation. So yeah, her not harping on it and like being able to have like a clean slate with him makes logical sense because she doesn't have a tie to him pre the betrayal. And I like that, I thoroughly enjoy that they didn't make her have resentment towards him. It's like, why? And I'm glad that they didn't have the why did you betray us conversation, because Hunter and Crosshair already had that conversation, so we as the viewers don't need to see that again. Right. And then B, wouldn't it make sense for her to like have that ill will towards him again, because like she barely knew Bull. So it's like
she also she believed from the get-go that it was his inhibitor chip that was forcing his hand. It's not until Crosshair and Hunter's conversation about how he chose the Empire do we realize that that's how he felt, right?
Right.
But who knows how much of the inhibitor chip being turned up, despite it getting damaged, who knows how much that affected his brain chemistry, right? So now we see, obviously,
my man's got a whole... I was about to say he has half a head.
He's got a wreck and burn mark on the side. That's funny.
Big facts.
I equate what you're saying too about like the bits of reality slipping into television. It's kind of like when you're watching any type of entertainment, like when you're watching a stage play, and like I think that when you watch like a stage play, sometimes you can tell people are like acting, or there's like a voice they put on, and it's like sometimes it's because they're trying to project and get like their voice out into the crowd, and it's like important for them to speak that way. But I find myself gravitated towards the performances that feel like I'm in the room with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That is what this is doing from in a narrative standpoint. So like that's kind of like where I feel like that comes from. Or it makes the audience a little more comfortable with the situation, because you can imprint a little bit of yourself onto the characters that you're watching. It's like super subtle fourth wall breaking. Like it's like really subtle fourth wall breaking. Like, yeah, like, oh hey, that makes sense, because I would do that.
like situation. Oh yeah, that's a rational decision. That is what a person would do in this situation. Like moments like that. I love the stage play analogy because I feel like that is when you do enjoy yourself, when like the person who's on the stage performing kind of gives you a little wink and a nod as like an audience member. Like, yeah, like, yes, this is a stage performance and yes, we're acting, but like, we're aware that this is a play. like we're very aware that this is a play. Well,
so I actually, sometimes I like that. I think maybe you're taking the opposite point of I like it when it's like, oh, it's the conversation they're having feels real because the dialogue feels real. Sometimes I feel like the script of a play is like, I can very much tell this is written. It's like not a real conversation.
Oh, no.
Like dialogue,
okay.
Dialogue in like a film sometimes feels written, whereas sometimes, like, depending on how comfortable the actors are with each other, it can feel like an improvised, like, real conversation. And I wish I had like a better example off the top of my head. But
no, I'm wrong with you. So we actually are saying the same thing. I'm not talking so much more about like the dialogue. I'm more talking about like what you're saying, like I'm in the room with them. It's like when the people on the stage like are like letting you in on the stage. Like it's like, we're not going to try to lie to you and make you think that you're really in 1776. Like, yeah, it's a play. Like, come join us in the pageantry and everything. Like, you're included in it. Like Hamilton did a really good job. Like, you know, there's certain parts of that play, if you ever see Hamilton, where it's like they like acknowledge that there's an audience. Like, it's like, yeah, we're supposed to be standing in the middle of, you know, fucking Quakertown, Pennsylvania, having a conversation about the Declaration. But it's like, no, I know I'm in fucking, yeah, shout outs to Quakertown, you know, shout outs to the Quakers, the minor 49ers, shout you out.
I got friends in that town. Man, they got a Guinness Book of World Record for the most stores in a square mile radius. That's crazy. Most
there you go. Bow. But I'm agreeing exactly what you're saying. Like when they do acknowledge, like, hey, yeah, we know that this is a set in the galaxy far, far away. Like, but logically, she wouldn't have this bitterness towards him because like she just met him when he decided to leave. So it's like she has established her own relationship. Again, reverting back to what you just said, she established her own relationship with him through a traumatic experience. So it's just like the rest of the batch weren't there for that. But they were. So it's like they're, you know, bonded through fire essentially, and it shows, and I enjoy that. I also love the Jurassic Park reference like, with all the escaping caged animals. I loved that. That was really cool too. I enjoed that.
That's a part of my Easter egg. Should I dive into the Easter eggs?
Yeah, I mean, give it to them. What an accidental segue.
Okay. So first Easter egg, porgs can be heard in the creature transport area. There's like the exact sound like from The Last Jedi is used in this episode. So I guess there were some porgs there. The creature containers are the same. Like when there's like I guess like a store in Galaxy's Edge where when you buy a stuffed animal creature, it like comes in a cardboard crate, if you will, that looks like a cage for like an animal. Same designs. I know this because I bought a Loth cat when I was there. And it was the exact same box. So very cool to see just like the continuity of Galaxy's Edge bleeding into the Bad Batch. It's done it a lot, actually. So it's just cool to see. The creatures escaping, and with it being a reference to Jurassic Park in no particular order, are the Nuna, Aloubird, is the first time being seen. The Wrath Tar from Force Awakens is a scene eating Captain Man. As he gets pulled into that crate, that is a Wrath Tar that's pulling him in.
When they did that, I was just like, oh shit, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That was cool.
The Void Strider, which was the long-legged birds that were running away, those are from an episode of the Clone Wars. It's actually like the droid arc that Gregor is introduced in. Those were first seen in that episode, and they're very reminiscent of the dinosaurs running in Jurassic Park. And then the moon where they are reunited, it's the same moon that the Batch meet Gobi and Hera on in season 1 during that small Ryloth arc. So there was like precedence for them meeting there. Yeah, so the planet in the background is definitely Ryloth, which is the home of the Twi'leks. But that was all the Easter eggs I caught. I'm sure that I missed quite a few. The references are starting to get quite obscure. We're visiting new planets. Like these are not places we've been before. So it's just exciting.
Was
to
that
see.
little boy supposed to be somebody special, or he was just a character?
I think he's just a character.
Because like he had a lot of screen time.
It was interesting. It was interesting. They gave him lines of dialogue and a nod to him, and I was like, was all they're gonna do just for the Batcher connection later? Like, is that? But that's a good call. Maybe we'll see him pop up later.
Because I felt the same thing. So like when they like were going through the town and he was kind of like scoping them out and he's like covered up and everything, I'm like, okay, interesting, he's gonna show back up. But then just to show back up to show them which way Batcher went, I was like, that was weird. Like it seemed like he was supposed to have done more or will do more at some point in time. Maybe he pops back up.
Also, speaking of Batcher, I just feel like Batcher and Wrecker are gonna be like the best of friends. I don't know why. I just get that.
Oh yeah, really 1,000%.
Yeah.
So see that.
I'm looking forward to their interactions as well. All right, man. Well, that was this week covering the Bad Batch season 3, episode 4. Matt, why don't you go ahead and I guess before you close us out, I should tell people that they can find us at Annie Are You Okay Pod on Twitter and Instagram. That is the letters ANI Are You Okay Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find us at our sister podcast, which is Dragon Ball for Life, where Matt and our good friend Travis cover anime and Dragon Ball specific things over on that podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DB4L_pod. That's DB, the number 4L_pod on Twitter and Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's just Dragon Ball, the number 4 Life. Dragon Ball 4 Life on Facebook. Wow. I know that
Cospalooza.
Cospalooza. So we you may have heard if you listened to previous episodes, if you're a new listener and you happen to live in the tri-state area, we are doing our annual Cospalooza. It is a cosplay themed dance party at Milk Boy in Philadelphia on April 6th. We have posted the flyer to our socials, but we will continue to be posting about it.
We will continue to post the flyers to our socials.
It is cosplay encouraged. You don't necessarily have to show up in cosplay, but we highly recommend it. It's a great time. We had a blast last year at Milk Boy, so we're looking forward to it. We got DJ Anshi the Ray, who is going to be doing some anime mixes. Maybe we can convince her to throw a Star Wars one in there for me. But
all the nerd shit. All the nerd shit.
Yeah.
And just to double down on what Mikey just said, so one, get all your tickets now because we did sell out last year and people did get turned away.
Yeah, they got turned away.
Do not wait last minute. We want everybody to be able to have as much fun as they possibly can. And this is the same designation that I made last year just because I don't want people to get anxiety and feel like they can't come. Again, cosplay is heavily encouraged. If you are not an anime fan, we also are accepting just costumes. So if you want to come as any fictional character that you like, it does not necessarily have to be anime related. We did have some non-anime characters that were in attendance last week.
Some of the best
last year
were non-anime characters.
Yes. Yes. So. Yeah, so if you guys, like I said, costumes are 100% welcome. Like I said, any fictional character that you enjoy, please come one, come all. But like we always say here on this podcast to you, our dear Animaniacs, it could be Batcher, it could be Will Thatcher. Shout outs to Heath Ledger. Or it could be Ray. Life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, Annie's gonna be okay.
Be okay. May the force be with you.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.